we go. I'm live. Is that hey, hurrah? You guys remember that time when the Ravens really beat the crap out of the Texans? I mean, the time with Lamar Jackson when they did. No. Lamar Jackson's beat the Texans by an average of over 20 points, and at least in previous encounters, the offense scored some points. That was bad. And the time I'm talking about, though, when the Ravens beat the Texans was in the divisional round last year, when it was very clear that, wow, the Texans are not on the same level as the Baltimore Ravens. They're not ready to play with the big boys yet. And I thought it was a great lesson for them to learn last year. And then there was an offseason where you made some pretty notable acquisitions. And you thought, all right, well, with the younger guys being a year older, if some of these draft picks work out, if the free agents can bolster the offense, then there they'll be. And they are decisively not there yet. This is a big step backwards in a lot of ways, but it was also in some ways the logical culmination of a lot of things that have been happening all year. But man, the Ravens, first off, credit to them. Credit to Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's the MVP. I said that going into the game that I feel like it's very even between Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, but man, Lamar is he is an absolute machine. And the combo of him and Derrick Henry makes it really, really hard to defend against. But I'm not making any excuses for the defense. You got to do a better job than you did. They came up with some big plays. Credit Kamari Lassiter, credit Will Anderson. Great plays there. But the bind that the Ravens put them in, they failed that test. Texans came out and they were running 4-3, had three linebackers out on the field. Thought maybe that would do it. I mean, it looked they might as well have had nothing but linebackers and defensive linemen out there. I don't think they were going to stop the run. The defensive line in particular, I was disappointed with the defensive tackles because the Ravens had a really good plan for just using their aggression against them, hitting them with whams and traps, and the D-line at times looked completely and totally unaware of what the Ravens were trying to do to them. And when it's Derrick Henry doing it, then that's what you get. It's not an elephant in the room anymore at all. Like CJ hasn't been himself this year. That was bad. That there's just no way around it. Yes, there were times where the pass protection broke down. There were times where guys weren't open, but there were also times where he was missing easy checkdowns. And I know he was under pressure when he was throwing to Dalton Schultz, but he should have known by the coverage and what was going on that opportunity was there for Dalton Schultz, and he was holding on to the ball. I mean, that would have been a long, long strike. But then there were the easy throws that he missed. So something's off with CJ. You're going to take some. You're going to look. They were going to lose some battles on the offensive line at times. Kendrick Green was going to get worked like he did every now and then. But then also you have all the other added stuff where they don't run the ball well. They don't do anything with precision. And when you go up against a team like the Ravens, that's what's going to happen. The halftime show was incredible. That was cool. That was worth the extra. You know what? If this was a tight game, I would have been upset that halftime was as long as it was. But thank you, Beyonce. Thank you for delivering. Thank you for putting on a much bigger and better musical performance than I've ever seen at halftime of a football game. That was great. Good job, Beyonce. You were the best. You were the best Houston, either native or current resident of those two things. You're by far the best of all of those, other than like the Houstonians that played for the Ravens. You were a bright and shining light. As far as the rest of the offense and where you go from here, I mean, man, Dalton Schultz made that one great catch. It was a bad throw by CJ, but Dalton kind of bobbled it and reeled it in. That was really good. But multiple different guys. I mean, Dalton. Nico, the one time had a drop on a catch he could have made. Like you combine CJ playing poorly with guys not going above and beyond to make plays against a defense like that in the Ravens, which is very stout versus the run. They've gotten better against the pass. I don't. They haven't been that good versus the pass. They haven't so this is playing in NRG Stadium. my all my hopes and dreams for the playoffs were that somehow they could work their way into the 3 seed, and then by another few lucky twists of fate have a home game for the divisional game if they won the wild card game. But right now they've got issues. They've got issues. Rob Cortez says I can't stress enough how much I hate losing to the GD Ravens. I can't go there yet with the Ravens because they've owned us. They've owned us so thoroughly. And the two organizations that I respect the most in the NFL are the Steelers and the Ravens, because from year to year, from decade to decade, they draft the right kinds of guys. They bring in the right kinds of coordinators. I mean, John Harbaugh, for all that people wring their hands over having a defensive minded coach or a special teams minded coach, Harbaugh is a special teamer who's figured out a way to get. You got Todd Monken in there, and man, Lamar Jackson is playing as sophisticated a game as both as a pure passer, but then also as a runner of anybody in the league right now. And he can make touch throws outside the numbers. He extends plays and he does it really intelligently. He can just still gash you with the run. And obviously, CJ's never going to be that. Like, he's not going to be the running threat that Lamar is. But just the complete lack of rhythm, the complete lack of cohesion, just the complete and total incompetence of the offense, and really what it's been since week 7, it just leaves me at a loss. I mean, I'm on my way to. I'm in Pearland. I'm at the I'm at the Burger King on Shadow Creek Parkway. I'm on my way to a friend's house for dinner with his family because my wife and family are not here. I forgot that the grocery stores weren't going to be open, so I've got all the best that Walgreens can offer. So I'm bringing them some Lindor, big old bag of them. That's the good stuff. Those little spherical candies. I've got Royal Dance cookies. This is way better. These Royal Dance cookies, $4.95 on sale. I think I just broke a few. And the best wine that I could find at Walgreens on Christmas Day, some Justin Cabernet Sauvignon. So I'm gonna get drunk on wine and cookies in front of my friend's family, and hopefully not embarrass myself in front of his kids. Let me read your comments here. Are you gonna react to the post game interview? Probably not until late tonight, or early tomorrow morning. Ethan says we need to get Bobby out of here ASAP. That offense has no identity, no real creativity, nothing. The biggest thing that upsets me about the offense is just the stark disparity between the way the defense plays football and the way the offense does. The defense, even with their blemishes today, I'm look, Derrick Henry's going to Derrick Henry, but there were some things that I expected more of from the Texans defense. I was really surprised that they were as far out of position as they were at times, to where it looked like they weren't going to put up a fight at all. I told you the defensive tackles, especially in the first half, were just getting completely unaware, flying upfield and getting whammed and getting trapped. Maybe Foley Fatakasi would have made a little difference there, but there's no injury excuse for any of this, including the loss of Jimmy Ward. But because look, the Ravens haven't shut offenses out. That's not what that defense has been, and they shut the Texans offense out at home. Man, uh, this O-line is horrendous, says Anthos. Thoughts on Davis Mills starting the playoff game? CJ has lost a lot of confidence, and Davis knows the playbook decently. I would look. CJ's your quarterback, and he's your quarterback for the future. This is the positive I'll take from this game, and this is along the lines of something Andre Johnson said. We had Andre in the pregame, and he hinted at this a little bit, but he said it a little bit more emphatically when he was on the pivot a couple of weeks ago. Andre felt like, man, this team. I don't want to paraphrase or misquote what Andre was saying, so I'll just say what I feel. I think that ultimately, a lot of these young guys and CJ as well didn't really understand after last season just how hard it is to win in the NFL and to compete every week at the highest level. They were a nice story last year. They were way more competitive than anybody thought they were going to be, but it wasn't like they were a genuinely good football team yet. And this is like Bobby Slowick knows how hard it is to win. I'm not excusing him or absolving him in any of these respects. But I think the good thing for this season ultimately and hopefully on into the future is that a lot of these guys learned a lesson about just what it takes to and how hard it is to go out there and play offense in the NFL. But there's something missing from that offense in terms of just their core identity that they lack what the defense has. The defense goes out and they play like they hate their opponent. The offense goes out and plays like they're happy to be there. The offense goes out and they look like, oh shucks, we're in the NFL. Ain't this swell? And it's just it's not. And maybe that's because they just aren't a well constructed offense. Maybe it's hard to be aggressive when you either are unsure of your responsibilities or you're not having success. But it's just night and day. So when it comes to the culture and trying to emulate the Baltimore Ravens culture, or trying to emulate the Pittsburgh Steelers culture, I know it wasn't a great day for the Steelers, but they're there. They're 50% of the way there. If all the defense had done was play like they did today, I wouldn't be I'd be upset, but I wouldn't be overly distraught about it. But the offense is just taking steps, like they're taking giant bounding leaps backwards, just almost like they're doing a conditioning drill or something, where you're trying to stride out backwards as far as you can. Good job, by the way, yeah, shout out to Damian Pierce. Good job, Damian Pierce. Man, the best thing about that the best thing about that was that he trucked that one dude. And I don't know. I could see from the press box that they were talking about that hit again a few plays later. So I don't know if a Ravens player got hurt on that play or not. You guys that were watching on TV probably have a better idea of that than I do. But it looked like he was down on the ground hard. And I looked to the left and then I looked back and the guy had gotten up. But I feel like it was almost out of pride more than anything else. If I got trucked that bad and I was conscious and capable of it all, I would jump up and try to walk off the field, even if I had like three broken vertebrae, because it's embarrassing when you get trucked like that. So good job, Damian Pierce. Good job, Kamari Lassiter, providing some points. Um, I would say good job, Tommy, on that one monster punt after the penalty. But he also did have like a 27-yard punt in the game too. I mean, it was bad. Okay, so that guy did go out. Thank you, guys. Let's see. Austin Designs thing says Lamar and the Ravens blow out the Texans on Christmas is the headline on Sports Center. This is unacceptable. Yeah. Boy, I, I know a lot of, and I know a lot of you. You told me all week, like all 4 days. You told me like, no, boy, it's gonna be ugly. It's gonna be ugly. And I was like, come on, baby, it's not gonna be that bad. We've changed. It's gonna be different. They're gonna they're gonna show up and show out. They didn't. The defense too. I mean, the first quarter, the first couple drives, like yeah, they didn't look ready to play. The Ravens are the team that had to travel. The Ravens were the team that just played the Steelers, uh, you know, on Saturday. Really tough physical game. That game was a lot tougher and more physical than the score would have suggested. And then they're coming. They're traveling on Christmas Day. I heard at the end of the game, Greg, what's his face there, say that it like looked like at the team hotel, the Ravens had like pretty much everybody had their whole families there, so it wasn't like they had completely missed out on any of the distraction of Christmas. They're just a more professional football team. They're hitting their stride at just the right moment. I hope if unless the Texans go on a miracle run, but let's say for the sake of argument, just hypothetically, the Texans don't make a big playoff push. I the Ravens would be my favorite for the Super Bowl right now. Now, I did say the same thing about the Ravens last year after the divisional round because they were just so thoroughly dominant. The difference with the Ravens this year is because of the addition of Derrick Henry and because this is Lamar Jackson's second year at Todd Monken's scheme, they're just so much more formidable in every aspect of the game that I have a hard time seeing which defense is going to slow them down. And the Ravens defense, even though they're not a classic Ravens defense, they're so solid against the run. And they still have that element of physicality, even though they're not great against the pass, but they've held teams to fewer than 200 yards passing for 5, 6 weeks in a row now. They're hitting their stride at just the right time, and they're doing it in a more menacing way than the Chiefs are doing. But Cosmo Kill says Lamar Jackson can't win the big game. That's where I think it's different. This is the difference. For one, remember, a lot of Lamar Jackson not being able to win big games or what have you also have to do with them not being able to close out games or maintain a lead. That's not an issue this year because they can just hand the ball off to Derrick Henry 15 times in the fourth quarter. I also think Lamar Jackson as a passer has, unless you're talking about the Texans not winning a big game, but as far as Lamar Jackson, he's throwing outside the numbers really, really well. When he gets blitzed, which teams have to resort to try to stop Derrick Henry, he knows how to carve teams up with a blitz. I think Zay Flowers has taken a step forward in his route running and everything else like that. I think they're just a much more complete football team than the Kansas City Chiefs right now. So we'll see. We'll see. D'Amico needs to grow some nuts. We were on the fourth down, down in the goal line. So Damian Pierce gets really nice return. You get down to what? What were they on the 4 yard line? And you can't punch it in. And yeah, at that point in the game, I'm usually kind of torn because on the one hand, I think, well, what are the Texans going to do? Just drive it right down their throats? No. But I think in a game like that, where things had been going the way they're going, you got to take every opportunity you can to score touchdowns. So yeah, they should have gone for it there, and they made. Would it have been so awful? Would you? Yeah. So let's see. We'll see how he fares against someone like Spags. Okay, good. Do a video on CJ's offseason to-do list. Improving pocket escapability, extending the play has to be number one. You know what? I actually today 32. I might go a little bit the opposite there. I don't think extending the play is the problem. I think it's one of the problems is waiting on and or extending the play sometimes when he needs to get rid of the ball. He took that sack and what was it, at the end of the first half, which he didn't need to take. You know, if he's a beat earlier, getting the ball to Dalton Schultz in the flat when he was wide open, a few of those plays, it's a matter of sometimes you just got to take what the defense is giving you, and I think he's just hesitant to do that. And there's also like for the sum total of the season, I'll make some excuses for him. Tonight he was just off. I mean, he was making bad throws. He didn't have touch. The defense was unprepared. It was a bad. This is bad on everybody. This is bad on the coaching. Look, the Ravens had a short week too. This team twice now when they've had to play on a 5-day schedule, like when the Thursday night game versus the Jets looked like a better prepared football team. Well, the Jets came out. Well, the Texans defense played great in the first half. The offense didn't play well at all. But when the Jets came out in the second half of that game on a short week, they marched right down the field. You go in a 5-day week this week, and Ravens looked like a better coached football team. So, lots of learning lessons from everybody, and we'll see. The Rockets, yeah. It's like, basketball season has officially started today. I know the old joke was basketball season doesn't start until Christmas. And I still abide by that for the most part. It's been hard this year. I've been watching the Rockets a lot more than I have in the previous couple seasons leading up until Christmas. But yeah, the basketball it starts today. It starts today. So please like, subscribe, everybody. I'll do some reaction to the actual plays when I get to a place where I can do that. And thanks, everybody. No thoughts on the draft yet, Jonathan. And I'll try to get to all these comments later. I got to go drop off my delicacies from Walgreens at this dinner party that I'm going to.